Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Diaspora Dialogue series with LA. I am Lillian Agbayegbe, your host on this program. On the Diaspora Dialogue series, we are talking to members of the diaspora. We're learning where they're coming from. We get to see some insight into the beauty of the homeland. Why are they in the diaspora? What's the blessing of the new land? And what skills have they improved upon? What's the benefit of integration? And so, as we have these conversations, we get to hear very diverse stories. People come into the diaspora through different avenues, and they're doing different things here in the diaspora, staying connected to home in ways that are unique to each and everybody, and having some nostalgic memories of things that are peculiar on the individual level. Today, my guest is a very good friend of mine. Boma Akainy is joining me from Maryland in the United States of America. Boma, you're welcome to the Diaspora Dialogue series with LA.
You're welcome, Dr.
Thank
Lillian.
you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. So, Boma, I've known you for a bit now, but I didn't know you before you came to the US. So I wanted to find out what was growing up like in Nigeria for you in a nutshell. Where did you grow up? What were the things that you really liked about growing up in Nigeria?
Okay. Um, I grew up in Port Harcourt. I'm from River State, and specifically, I'm from Abua. So I basically grew up in a village. My mom raised me. My father died when I was very young. So um, yeah, I was raised by my mom.
So you grew up in a village in Port Harcourt, raised by your mom. How did America enter into the dynamic of that village? Where did you hear about America? How did you end up in America from a village in Port Harcourt?
Okay. I don't know if you read my book. You know that I'm an author as well. So I've written a book about that. I mentioned this specifically.
So tell us, what's the title of the book and where can they find the book for our listeners?
One of my books is called The Heart Healer The Heart Healer.
Okay.
The Heart Healer is a book. And then the other one is a children's book. It's called Angel Legna. So you can find it on Amazon.
Awesome.
Yeah, Amazon or all books stores. You can get it online. And I in my village, we don't have, with growing up, there was not a single person, woman that have traveled overseas. I remember it was only two men that I knew of that there, and one was in London and the other one was, I think, in the US, but there was no woman. So I used to talk about like brag that I'm gonna get out of this village when I grow up. I'm gonna get out of this village when I grow up. So guess what? Sometimes my cousin would beat me that I have a big mouth. Like, why you always say that? Have you ever seen anyone that left the village? And how are you gonna get there? Are you gonna like swim down there? So, but I had this faith that one day I would leave. That's why the fact that there has never been a woman in my particular village that I've traveled. But I have this faith that one day I'm gonna leave this place and I'm gonna go somewhere. Go to America. And they would beat me. I got a lot of beating because of that. And when I see a plane passing by, I will run. I will run. And my mom would chase after me. I said, that plane, I'm going to America.
Wow.
I used to say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's good to have this faith and have the believe in yourself. There's nothing impossible.
Yeah.
And look at me here, through family and through a lot of connection, I was able to come here.
Was so you would always like had this feeling from a child that America was going to be the place for you, and now you got to be in America. What
Yes.
were there some things that did you just want to be in America just to be abroad, or what were some particular things that you thought you'll be able to do in America that you wouldn't have been able to do in Port Harcourt? What was the pull for going abroad?
I've always wanted to I didn't like, first of all, part of me, but I didn't like farming. I did not like, I was lazy when it comes to doing farming. So I didn't like it. So when my mom said, let's go to the farm, Boma. I said, okay, I don't like farming. First of all, I'm not gonna, my mom is still alive. I'm not, this is a real life story. I
Mm-hmm.
said, Mom, why are you disturbing? I'm not gonna be doing all this farming. I'm going to America. My mom said, but at least let her to farm. I said,
I
Mom, no. I'm gonna go to America and I'm gonna be a nurse and I'm gonna be a TV reporter. These are the two things that I used to tell my mom. These are the two things. I'm going to go to America. And she said, okay, yeah, you're going to America, but please learn how to do the farming. I never like it. So coming to the US, I had the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
that I was in Nigeria, probably wouldn't, because my father died at a very young age. And things were so hard for my mom to raise all. We are all seven. And she was struggling a lot. We have to do many a job to help my mom. We were all still, in fact, my mom was pregnant when my father died.
Oh,
So there
wow.
was no way I could have even go to school. So the opportunity, me coming to the United States, gave me that opportunity to go to school and better my life. I was able to, that's the advantage of coming to the US.
Wow. So you'd always wanted to be a nurse, and lo and behold, you are a
I,
nurse now.
yeah.
So let's talk to coming to America. You've now finally achieved your dreams and you're now in America. How was that? Did America meet all your expectations at once? Were there some disappointments? Or how did you experience coming to America and fulfilling that dream?
Yeah, well, yeah, it has advantage and disadvantage. This place called the United States, the greatest of all, it's the most
Mm-hmm.
beautiful country, but it has its own downs, and you know, so it's a land of opportunity. If you work hard, you achieve whatever you want to achieve. Okay, it's not a land, it's not a place for lazy people.
Not a place
Okay,
for lazy
for
people.
lazy people, you have to be ready. You know, if people want to come to the United States, but you have to prepare yourself to be here, and you have to ready to work hard to achieve whatever you want to achieve.
So, but if I think back to what you said you did. So was it that you were a lazy person or you just didn't like farming?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Was it that you were a lazy person? Because you say America is not a place for lazy people, but you've succeeded in America. So when you were in Nigeria, was it that you were lazy or you just didn't like farming?
I just didn't like farming, especially in the morning. Maybe I don't know how you grow up, but those of us that grew up in the village, you know, like any morning, you go to the farm, if especially if there's rain and
Mhm.
that grass, oh, I hated that. I
Mm.
didn't like that. So yes, I did not like I don't think I was like lazy. I just didn't
You just didn't like farming. You
like
didn't like getting up
farming.
in the morning. You didn't like messing with the grass and all of that.
Yes,
And then
exactly.
but you had enough skills and determination to make it as a nurse when you came to
Yes,
America.
exactly.
What
Exactly.
what else would you say were some of the things that I know you said, because your father had died and there didn't seem to be like a pathway for a future in Nigeria. What else surprised you? Were there some things that surprised you when you came to America? Like, is this America?
Yeah. So so when I was about to come here, my aunt now I was very young. Where I would say probably 17 coming here. So she told me about America. Remember, my auntie has never traveled before. She's telling me about America. You know, Boma, when you get to the United States, you know what? There's no tree. There are cars everywhere. There money falling from the ground. All you have to do is just jump in one of the car and drive around and drop it, and someone else will take the cars. So I believed her. I believed her. So I had that notion that when I get here, everything will be fine. I just jump in a car, any car. She told me that you don't have to worry about buying a car. The car is just already everywhere. There are keys in there, just jumping. And at my age, for some reason, because I grew up in a village, I just believed her. So when I got here, first of all, I saw trees everywhere. I said, but I thought there's no trees. So that is one of the things that I was surprised. I was surprised that is reality. In reality, it wasn't as expected. I came straight from New York to DC, and
Mm-hmm.
I saw people on the streets, and I was like, what are these people doing? And I was like, oh, they say they're homeless. Homeless in the United States. I was surprised. Those are the things that I was surprised to see when I got here. I was a little disappointed, but at the same time, they have their own advantage. They have good part of them. It's beautiful. The people were so friendly. I didn't expect people to be hugging me and greeting me that I don't even know. Hey, welcome me very nicely. So that part was very good. But this homeless part, I was surprised.
I know. The homeless part, I actually came face to face with that in my class when I was doing my master's in public health. We actually had when we're looking at social determinants of health, we actually looked at homelessness. And that was the first time in class where I couldn't really participate because I was like struggling to understand the concept of homelessness. Because for me, growing up in Nigeria, and I grew up in Lagos, there were always people in our house.
Yeah.
And family, friends, relatives, whatever, And my sense of a homeless person in Nigeria was you had to have no family to be homeless.
Homeless, yeah.
You had a family, you could just, even if you're just from the same area or family, you could just go there and be there, but I found out that here we actually have homeless people who somebody came to speak to us in our school, in my class, and she was like, she lost her job and now she's living in the shelter with her husband. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is how homelessness occurs here in the United States. Yeah, so it was just so interesting that, homelessness was a thing in America, which was not something that I could resonate with. So I understand, I can imagine that. And your auntie's story was, oh my goodness, isn't that so true? People tell people there's money on the floor, you can pay for money on the floor, and people want to come. So were people disappointed that you weren't sending them money, that you didn't pick money on the floor? How were people in Nigeria receiving you being here and not, finding money on the floor? Did you tell your auntie what was really going on?
I sure did. I said, Auntie, it's not the way. Because as soon as I get here, guess what? They wanted some money. Bail us the money. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. I said, it's not like that. So I have to explain and explain. They were like, really? Really? That's how it is there. So I told them the truth.
Wow. So now you've been in the US for a while, you've been working on various issues. I know one of the things you talked about your book, The Heart Healer. I know you run the Heart Healer Foundation, and one of the things you focus on is in domestic violence.
Yes.
How have you seen, were you aware about domestic violence when you were in Nigeria, or was it when you came here that you found that there's such a thing as domestic violence?
That come a sensitive issue for us women. No, I grew up in a very beautiful home. My mom, my dad, beautiful, loving couple. That's what I grew. I didn't know anything about domestic violence until I got here, and I get entangled with a situation that's an unbelievable situation. That's where came to know about domestic violence. And I was in a situation that I prayed that God to just remove me. And I promised God that if you let me out of this peacefully, with my life intact, I will help women. I will do my best to help other women that's going through domestic violence get out alive.
Awesome.
So United States, when I got here, that's when I knew about it. I didn't know anything about that in Nigeria. I didn't grow up in that environment.
But that's a situation that's happening now. I don't know whether maybe you weren't aware or maybe people didn't talk about it, but I think that Nigeria now talks about, we now have laws on domestic violence,
Yes.
we have domestic violence organizations and shelters. And are you in connection with some of the people in Nigeria or the people working here? How do you see the response of domestic violence in Nigeria and here, if you have had that opportunity to see the response from both sides?
Yeah, that way, you remember our event, you were there, you were part of the big event we did, a domestic violence event that we did a few years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, you were number one, you were there. Are you part of the organization, the Heart Healer Foundation?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Yeah, and yeah, it was it's a good thing that we'll continue to work on it. And we're doing something in Nigeria as well right now. Hopefully by the end of the year we will do the inauguration. I will try and establish another one. I know people are working and a lot of people are doing it, bringing awareness. When I was growing up, like I said, I left Nigeria very young. And I grew with mom and daddy, and I didn't really notice because there was no fighting or beating in my own mom and dad if they want to. I never really see argue. My mom said that when they argue, they go in the room and they talk. So I wasn't exposed to see those kind of things. So, but here we are. We're here. So
Yeah,
that
I know, like you're saying, yes, part of the Heart Healer Foundation. I'm really happy about, steps that are coming up in Nigeria. I do
mhm.
follow along. I know that some states have passed legislations. I know that
Yes,
have shelters that women can go and stay in.
yes,
I never heard about those things, but I did hear about abuse though when I was in Nigeria, not because it happened in my own household, but I
mhm,
know that people complained about spousal violence. I didn't know it was called domestic violence or intimate
yes,
violence, or what the resources are. I mean, so it's good to know that it's something that's very dedicated. Uh,
mhm,
Here in the United States, they have the Violence Against Women's Act, and they have several organizations provide services for people experiencing violence, not just
mhm,
women, we say men also. So that's
mhm,
a lot of work that's going. So good to hear that something is coming up in
yeah.
Nigeria. But if we quickly circle back to Nigeria, I know you didn't. So if you're missing Nigeria, obviously not missing waking up in the morning and going to the farm. But is there something about Nigeria that you miss, that you like, when we talk about the beauty of the homeland, is there something from Nigeria that you wish you could still experience even though you're in the United States?
Yeah, I miss that family dynamic. The family. It's all about back home. It's all about family and they get together, they party, all those things. Every Sunday you go to Saturday weekend. It's all about the family get together. I miss our food, real organic food. I miss all those good stuff. Yeah, home is home. You got to miss home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when you talk about missing home, home is home. Um, Also, if you look at raising, children in the US and raising children in Nigeria, did you have some struggles of like, this is different from what we used to do back home, or how was that for you?
You mean raising kids here?
Yes, compared to how you were raised in Nigeria.
In the United States, it's a little different from back home. Back home, when you're growing up, if you do something well in back home, they believe that it take a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing something, a neighbor can spank you. Don't do that, and no problem. Your mom will be happy. You go to school and act up. Your teacher will beat you, whoop you good, and your mom will be like, "Oh yeah, crazy teacher." Dad will be happy, but it's not over here. It's not like that. You can't even beat your kids. You can't even spank them. They have, you know what I mean. They are in charge. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference that you cannot really. You have to be careful with your kids here. You have to be careful how you talk to them. You can't even if there's a scratch. If they take you to school and report to the teacher, you are in trouble as a parent. So that's the difference that I see. It's a big difference. Raising children, I think the children back home, to be honest with you, they are more respectful.
Mm-hmm.
The kids here, and again, it depends on how you raise them, I think. So some of them could be really wild, and back there, the kids are more calm. That's what, for my own observation, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you think about that, but that's
Yeah,
what I.
yeah, absolutely. I think, it's a case by case basis, but of
Mhm.
course it's absolutely true. How even neighbors could hold, I know it's so true. You're accountable. It takes a village, not just to raise a child, but hold a child accountable. So all the neighbors,
Mhm.
everybody is holding the child accountable. And it's so interesting that here, even you as the parent, you have to
Okay.
be very careful about what you're doing with
Mhm.
the child. But let's talk about the benefit of integration. You know, people are like, oh, people should have stayed in Nigeria while you're coming to the US. How would you talk about your meaningful contribution? What, you know, how would you say that society is benefiting from you being here in the United States?
Okay, society is benefiting because we're all the things that we'll be doing, you and I, we've come a long way. Um, as you sit there, both of us talking, it's benefiting a lot of people. As we speak about against domestic violence, a lot of women, even as we speak, it's saving a lot of lives.
Mm-hmm.
Things that we didn't know before we came to the United States and we got exposed. So in so doing, we take our exposure, I will send it to those people. We spread the words out there for people to be aware of what is good and what's not good. I remember those days people could, there's an awareness when it comes to domestic violence back home. It's because of what we're doing. It's because of our exposure. That's what is happening right now. Women are waking up.
Women are waking up. Absolutely, women are waking up all over the world. Women are waking up.
Okay,
Yeah, we're coming up to the
coming up.
workspace and social
Yes,
spaces and
there's
all of
nothing
that.
like a stigma. Okay, so you're not married, or why are you not doing this, or what? No, you cannot stay and die just because you want to be Mrs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Women are not. They don't really. They so the men, they need to get up and go with the flow because women are waking up. They're wising up.
mm-hmm. Women are wising up. Men, you are allies in this fight against intimate partner violence. We need men to be at the table to be saying that, you know, this isn't right. And yes, I do know that men are victims as well. So we
Yes,
just need society to really rise up and provide education on healthy dating, on
yes.
social emotional learning, help people know how to cope with disappointment, and
Mhm.
help people to understand how not to cross the boundaries when
Yes.
in relationship. But I'm enjoying this conversation. I
Mhm.
want to talk about one thing that some people say to me sometimes. I know you were in Nigeria recently and you're talking about going to do some more work in Nigeria. And some people say, if you're really interested, you should come home and stay. So what's it for you? Are you going home to stay or are you just going and coming? And if so, why?
Mm, I, for now, I'm just coming and going. I'll be coming and going to make sure the work is done and everything is okay. But with time, maybe when I get to certain age, then of course I'm thinking about maybe settling there one day. You never know. Only God knows our plan. We can plan all we want, but it's only one person that have our life, and it's better. It's Almighty God.
Yes,
So
absolutely. So, but when we talk about going and coming, do you feel that you have a good sense on going and, you know, like some people say the people who live abroad think they're better than the people who live in a, do you share that sentiment? What do you think that there should be any enmity between the people? I mean, and I use that word, so maybe enmity is in the word. Do you think there should be this friction between the people who live abroad and the people who live home? Or should we just focus on how we can do things to help people generally?
yeah, we could just focus on how to be better and do things differently. And I think there are people that when they travel to Africa, I think they go there and show off. Maybe that's why they have this thing about, oh, they go there and some of them, they go after staying in the United States for 10 years, they will go home and they will claim that they cannot even speak their native language.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of people, those are the ones that the proud ones. I think people should just be themselves, humble themselves. When you go there, humble yourself and do what you have to do to help the people in need. If you're able to do it, no one will have that mentality that the people are going there to be, show off.
Hmm.
What is it to show off? I don't understand. But yeah, you're right. There are people like that. When you go there, they think they're better than the ones back there. But I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not a function of, I mean, your excellent spirit and your ability to do things is not a function of what you are. The people in Nigeria who are doing great and excellent things, would you say so?
Oh, wow.
There are people in, I was asking, I said, there are people in Nigeria who are doing great things. There are people in Nigeria who are doing, it's not a function. It doesn't mean that just because you're abroad, you have all the answers and the people in Nigeria don't have any answers, right?
Mhm. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Great, great. So as we're having our conversation coming to an end now, it's very interesting to learn how you'd always wanted to live abroad as a child, and guess what? It came to pass. But you were surprised that there are trees in America, and no, you cannot find a car with keys in it. I just drive anywhere you go. Money doesn't go on the floor. You will have to face the reality of raising children differently. Nobody thanks you for nobody thanks the neighbor or the teacher for disciplining your child. In fact,
Yeah,
you as a parent, you have to be careful about that discipline yourself. But you have done great things here, gone to school and you're a nurse and doing a foundation, raising awareness about domestic violence, both here in the United States and also in Nigeria. Before we round up this conversation, I just want to turn it over to you. Are there any things, that you think you'd like to share with people who are listening that I haven't covered? This is the opportunity to share it.
yeah. I just want people to know that we will always be here to help whoever. If you need any help, anyone that want to follow us on Facebook. My name is Boma Akainy, and I totally against domestic violence, and I'll continue to work with women to see that we are top of the world. There's no stigma, there's nothing like that. If you're in a position, if you're in a situation that you know that you will die, choose one. Will you prefer to die or you want to save your life? You have a choice.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You have a choice. You heard that from Boma Akainy, my guest on the Diaspora Dialogue series with LA today. Boma's joining me from Maryland here in the United States and shared a phenomenal journey of wishing, believing your dreams. Even though she grew up in this village where no female had ever been to the United States, she was like, I am going to make it. And lo and behold, she's there. But final take home message is, for women particularly, you don't have to die in a bad relationship. Choose whether you want to leave, and there's help. You can find Boma on Facebook, Boma Akainy. You can find her on Facebook and reach out to her. She's also said she has a book that you can find on Amazon, The Heart Healer. It's the name of her foundation, The Heart Healer Foundation. Thank you for joining me today. I'll come your way another time with another guest on the Diaspora Dialogue series with Ellie. I am Lilian Agbeigbe, your host of this program. Until
Thank you, doctor. Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Until I come your way again. Bye.